1927, Ralph Peer of the RCA Talking Machine Company went down to Bristol, Tennessee with a truckload of 20s-style audio equipment to hold auditions to see if there was any talent in the eastern Appalachian Mountains. In what has been known as the Big Bang of country music, in 1 week's time they auditioned a lot of artists that you've heard of. The Stoneman family to start with, the Carter family, who changed everything about music worldwide, and Jimmie Rodgers. Now, Jimmie Rodgers came to the Bristol sessions as a member of a band, but as bands will do, they got in a fight the night before and threw Jimmie Rodgers out of their band. Not a great career move. He was going to go home, but his friend said, why don't you just go ahead and audition as a solo player? And we're glad he did, because he became one of the greatest figures in American traditional music. I love the women, I love them all the same. I love the women, I love them all the same. I don't love nobody enough to change her name. You know the women make a fool out of me. When I'm in the parlor, ladies think it's a treat. When I'm in the parlor, ladies think it's a treat. Even in the wintertime, they turn down the heat. You know the women make a fool out of me. My pappy scolded me, Mama sat and cried. My pappy scolded me, Mama sat and cried. I've got too many women for any little boy my size. You know the women make a fool out of me. So Jimmie Rodgers went on to become one of the greatest stars of American popular and traditional music that we've ever seen. But at what should have been the middle of his life, the TB that had dogged him for many years finally took him out of here. And just before he died, he did one last session over 3 days. They say he was so sick they had to bring a bed into the recording studio and set it up by the microphone. He'd stand up to sing and play one song, always stood to play and sing. Fall down on the bed for 45 minutes exhausted, stand up and sing again, fall down and rest, and literally sang out the last breath of his life. This song, the last Jimmie Rodgers Blue Yodel, was one of those last 9 songs. At the end of the 3 days, they took Jimmie Rodgers home. And although you'd never know that he was a dying man, because his voice was full of hope and joy and his hand was strong on the guitar, and he still had that beautiful eye for the ladies. But the next day, Jimmie Rodgers died. I love the women, I love them all the same. I love the women, love them all the same. I don't love nobody enough to change her name. So the Jimmie Rodgers story ends on a sad note. But we can be grateful, as we're grateful for his life to make the guitar and music world what it is today. We can be grateful for those other great guitar players that have gone on before. We can shed a tear for Hank Snow and Elizabeth Cotton, Merle Travis, and Merle Watson, Chet Atkins, Sabicus and Segovia, and all of those great guitar players that have given us that great golden age, all of those kings of the guitar. And we can remember the words from Richard II. For God's sake, let us sit down upon the ground and tell sad tales of the death of kings. You know the women make a fool out of me.